What's up, knife junkies? It's Bruce here. Oh, hey mom, love you. So, let's get into this video. We're going to sharpen a now we're really gonna have to sharpen a really cheap knife. This is a knife my coworker gave me, asked me to sharpen it for him. I believe it was like $10 on Etsy or whatever, Temu I believe. Yeah, anyway, cheap knife, which means the steel is going to be soft, it's going to be poorly heat treated, which means it's going to be difficult. Basically, it'll sharpen easily, but getting the burr off and getting a nice crisp edge is not going to be very easy. So today what I'm working with is $20 diamond stone off of Amazon, SAT stone. Good for, I use it for knives I don't really care about. Easy, quick little sharpenings like that. And then I got my DMT course. Use that for finish. But to get to re-bevel and stuff, I'm going to use this cheaper stone. It is, yeah, oddly enough, I think it's like a 7x3, because I know the DMT is an 8x3. I don't know about you guys, but that looks like it might be. It's about an inch, so I don't know. Anyway, looks about 7x3 to me, somewhere around those dimensions. I got the stone holder here. You can get that on Amazon for $20. Just helps lift it off the table so your knuckles have clearance when you're sharpening. And last but not least, got these handy dandy fancy little angle guides on Amazon too, for I think it was like $8 or $6 for a pack of like 20 of them. These come in really handy. I usually only use them for like my expensive knives. I like to freehand everything, but when I'm doing a friend's knife or something, I don't want to mess it up, so I just slap one of these on there. So first thing, I already know the angle of this knife because I've sharpened it before. If you don't know the angle, you can do the Sharpie trick. You put some Sharpie along the edge, then do a pass, and see if it's getting all the Sharpie off, or if it's only getting towards the apex or towards up here towards the secondary bevel or primary bevel, excuse me. We'll go over that though in a sharpening tutorial. This is just a quick sharpening video, so I'm not gonna get too much into detail into the hows, but I will give as much guidance as I can. So I'm gonna start this off at 17 degrees. And one thing to keep in mind is thumb studs. Anytime you're sharpening, you want to make sure that you do not grind your thumb studs. So I prefer to take them off, but unfortunately these ones are non-removable. So I just got to keep it at an angle to where I'm not hitting those thumb studs. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. So hopefully you guys got a good angle here. I need a different tripod for my camera, man. But anyway, so when I'm doing this, I like to put my finger on the very tip. And when I'm drawing the blade to me, I'll push my finger down when I'm getting to that belly, to the tip, and lift my elbow up. The whole time though, you want to keep your wrist locked. You want to keep a consistent angle on there. If you have the guide, it's not as important because you know what your angle is going to be. But when you're pulling, you want to keep your angle locked for sure, definitely. And you want to make sure you get that heel and raise your elbow up and get that tip at the end. Standing up is more comfortable for you, easier for you to raise your elbow, then you might want to do that. This desk is kind of high for me, so it is a little awkward, but anyway. So we're just going to continue to do this until we get a burr. So remember to keep your wrist locked. You want to use a good amount of pressure. I mean, you don't want to like absolutely smash it in there, but you want to use a good amount of pressure. With a cheap diamond stone like this, you don't have to worry about breaking all your diamonds off. These things seem pretty durable. They don't give the best edge like a DMT stone would, and I've had issues with DMT too. Trust me. Yeah, with coverage along the edges, grit contamination, blah blah blah. But these ones, the diamonds on there, I don't know if just the way that they played them, they don't leave as fine of an edge as like a DMT stone does. I mean, they are a $20 stone, so you can't really complain too much. But I like to use them just for getting the initial bevel on there. The bevel is, so you got your primary bevel and then your secondary bevel. The secondary bevel is this edge all the way around that makes up the apex of your knife. So it is the the angle that comes off of the main flat. And the apex, these are words that we'll be using in videos, so you might as well, if you don't know them, become familiar with them. The apex is the very tip right where the blade meets up in the point here, all around the edge. Then your heel is back here at the very end of the knife. Your tip is obviously at the very tip of the knife. The belly is going to be like this right here. That's a belly. So just so you know the terms when we're saying them. So we already got a burr here, almost all the way up the knife. I'm gonna try to get the tip a little better, and it's pretty common to miss the heel and the tip a lot when you're sharpening, and you can focus just on those two little points if you want, like this. So I can just come here, hit that a few times. But anytime that you focus on a single area like that, you want to make sure that you blend it all back in. So do some more passes in one direction. That way your grip pattern isn't all funky. Now I do have a pretty decent burr all the way up the length of the blade. Do a few more passes just because. Alright. I'm going to switch sides. After I get a burr, so what happens when you're sharpening your knife, the metal is grinding off, right? It's pushing over. What happens is it curls over to the other side, to the side that you're not sharpening on. So, and then it leaves like a little wire edge of folded over metal. Depending on the grit of your stone, the burr can be like real fine or it can be real pronounced. So you might have to like try to get a good feel for it. Once you get the hang of it though, you recognize it. And there's definitely a burr. And you want to burr all the way down the whole edge of the knife. If you're missing parts, then you can go back, focus on those parts like we did a second ago, or just keep going until you get the whole blade. We do have a burr now on this, so we'll switch over to the other side. What I like to do, I like to knock that burr off. So my first pass, I don't put a lot of pressure because I don't want to rip the burr off. I just want to kind of get it over to the other side. So I just do a real light pass at the angle I'm going to be sharpening on. Same thing, you want to keep your wrist locked. Rotate your body, maybe you pull from your elbow. I like to keep my elbow locked too, but you just want to make sure that you hold that angle. If you don't hold that angle and you're moving your wrist around, what'll happen is you'll get a convex edge. So convex edge is when the points coming up to your apex aren't completely flat. They're kind of like bowed out like that. And for the most part, you don't want a convex edge. So if you got like a hunting knife or a heavy duty like a hard use knife, say outdoors knife, survival knife, it's probably okay to have an apex, convex edge, because it actually can give more stability to the edge. So, however, it's at the cost of some sharpness, right? Like that crisp edge is gonna make a big difference. And on a regular pocket knife or something slicey, you definitely want to avoid convex edges if you can. I mean, in my opinion, it does come down to personal preference, but if you really want a good edge, you want to stay away from the convexing. So that's why it's so important to hold that angle. And these angle guides, man, they're nice. Like, it's kind of cheating, but it can help you build that muscle memory that you need. So if you can just use them when you're first starting out, just so you can get used to holding the angles and recognizing like what a 17 degree is as opposed to a 25. And by the way, we are putting a 17 degree angle on this. Probably not the smartest idea because this is a cheaper steel with the poor heat treatment, no doubt. It's a $10 knife. It might not even have a heat treatment, right? But yeah, so if you have like a premium steel, like 20CV, S90V, M390, a really good hard steel like that with good, it'll have better stability, right? So you can have a thinner edge, like a 17 degree angle, will hold up well. On a really cheap knife like this, I'll be honest, like 20 degrees is a pretty obtuse angle for a knife, inclusive, right? You don't want something like that on your pocket knife. It's just not going to be as slicey. Geometry plays a huge part in your cutting performance. Studies show actually geometry plays a bigger part in your cutting performance than the knife steel itself, right? So the angle, the thinness of the blade, the thinness of the bevel, the grind, all that stuff plays a huge role in your cutting performance. With a cheap steel like this, it can't hold that thin geometry because it'll deform, fold over, roll, chip. Probably not chipping because it's still so soft on this cheap steel like this. But it's just gonna wear away. It's gonna wear real quick, wear down. It's gonna be subject to like denting or like nicks if you're chopping with it and blah blah blah. It's just a poor steel. But it's okay. It's also easy to sharpen, right? So I'll put a 17 degree angle on this. It'll get dull in 3 days. I'll just sharpen it again. It takes 5 minutes. Unless you're doing a video, then it takes about 20. So, anyway, let's finish this up. So I already got the burr. I'm now on to the next side. Still holding that angle, locking my wrist in place, moving from the torso, lifting my elbow. So when I get to that tip, I'm pushing in with my finger, lifting my elbow at the same time. And when I feel my finger touch the diamond stone, I know I'm good. I'm as far as I need to be. So just want to check for that burr, and we got a burr all the way down the knife, so we're good. So that's it. I mean, that's literally it. Easy. The blade knife sharp now, and this is probably the most important part, is burr removal. So that burr that we formed when we were sharpened, now it's on the opposite side, right? Because I was going this way, so now it folded over here. So now we just want to try to work that burr off. You would think you could just and it'd be gone, right? Unfortunately, it's not that easy, especially not with a cheap steel like this. It's gonna take quite a while to work this burr off. It's another thing with heat treats and like steel quality. If you got real cheap steel like this with poor quality, it's pretty difficult to get that burr off. You gotta really work at it. So what I'm gonna do is switch over to this DMT stone because it's got the diamonds are just better on it. I'm gonna do a couple passes on each side on the coarse stone because so your grit, like you can sharpen a knife at any grit you want, right? Obviously a thicker, like a lower grit with like bigger coarser materials is gonna cut faster on like a diamond stone or any stone really, but and the lower the grit number, the more coarse the stone. So like this is a 325. This one was a 400. So technically this one, it differentiates between companies, but if they were standard, the 325 should be more coarse than the 400. And the coarser edge you put on there, the more bite that the blade has. So if you finish on a coarse stone, in bite, it's hard to describe bite. So bite is like how easy it'll pull into something. Like you can feel it grip onto what you're cutting, because those little serrations in the teeth, they really grab on and pull you into the cut. So toothy edges are nice. I like to finish with a coarse stone. I used to like going really high grit, and then I'd strop to a mirror polish. And but man, like the toothiness from a 325 grit stone finishing on a 325 grit stone, it's nice. It really just pulls into what you're cutting, man, and it's just I've really grown to like that a lot more. But so we're gonna work this burr off. We're gonna start by just doing regular passes, the same angle. I'm gonna do 3 to 5 passes on each side. Or 2, I guess. Not a whole lot of pressure here. And then I'm going to go 3, 2, 1. So 3 passes per side, 2 passes per side, 1. And as I'm doing this, I'm kind of lightening up the pressure on each pass. So this one's lighter than what I was going when I was doing 3. Still holding my wrist locked in place, keeping that edge. Now I'm going to switch over. Now I'm just doing 1 pass per side. I'm just trying to keep bending that burr over and over, back and forth, trying to weaken it so it'll just snap off and hopefully tear some of it off as I'm sharpening. And now that I'm at one pass per side, I'm just going to keep lightening up my passes. So a little less here, a little less. So just less pressure, light pressure, lighter pressure, lighter pressure. I want to get eventually so light that it's basically just the weight of the knife. So, not kidding. I'm just trying to rip that burr off of there. So I'm just folding it back and forth, back and forth. And like I said before, because this steel is so cheap, it's going to be real difficult to get this burr off of here. It's going to take a lot of work. So I just keep feeling for it. And each time, like, I can feel it folding over. So once I hit this side, now I can feel it on top, right? Little parts of it are gone. It's not all the way down the knife anymore. Now it's over here. I'm just going to keep going, just keep going. Light pressure, until that thing is really as close to gone as possible. Because it is such a soft, cheap steel, poorly done heat treat, it is going to be pretty hard to get the whole thing off. Done a pretty good job right now. There's not much left on there. The knife is sharp. So just to finish it off, I'm going to move over to this Veneve 1/2-inch stone. I got this for like my knives with recurves on it. Helps sharpening the recurves, but it's a metallic bonded diamond stone, so it's not as it is a 240 grit, so it's coarse, but it's not as rough, I guess, as like the diamond stones. The other, like the regular plated diamond stones. So it's pretty good. It's almost like a ceramic stone, kind of. So it's pretty good for burr removal. So I'm going to use this to finish getting this burr off of here. Just light passes. And if you're having trouble, if that burr is being real stubborn like it is on this bad steel, you can do a edge trailing pass. Do a couple of those where you're going towards the spine of the knife instead of into the blade. So you got an edge leading pass and an edge trailing pass, right? So an edge leading pass, your edge is leading into the stone, or an edge trailing pass where you're pulling away from the apex. So we're gonna do a couple edge trailing passes just to try to get that burr off of there, and then back to the edge leading passes. This is just super light pressure. We're not trying to remove any more material. Now we're just trying to knock that little baby burr off of there as best we can. And it's almost gone, but there's still a lot there. So what's gonna have to happen here, I'm just gonna have to do the best I can, and then I'm gonna have to grab a strop, and I'm gonna have to strop the rest of that burr off. And you gotta have a strop anyway. Like, if you have anything in your sharpening arsenal, it should be a coarse grit stone and a strop. I never realized how much of a difference a strop made until I got one with some diamond paste and started using it. Strop makes a world of difference. So this is pretty sharp. We got most of that burr off there. Just so you can see. Cuts paper. You can see it's not cutting super good. That's because that burr is on there. So this is a perfect example of why you want to remove the burr. Now it is sharp, but it'll catch. You see it catching on there, like right there. So that's that burr. There's little pieces of that burr still left on there. So we're gonna get a strop. I'll be right back. Okay. Clear up some of this junk here. So this is a strop. I got 6 micron diamond paste on this side, 6 micron diamond paste on that side, and then this one I have a 1/2 micron. So when you strop, you want to do edge trailing passes, right? You want to go away from the edge, and you want to hold the same angle. You want to not put too much pressure because you don't want to roll the edge. You want to start at the tip and pull back to the heel, holding the same angle and not too much pressure. You want to let the diamonds do the work. You want to make about 5 or 6 passes like that. And what that's doing is those diamonds, that diamond compound is ripping off the little pieces of that burr that are left over and refining your edge. 6 micron is a coarser grit than say 1 micron. The smaller the micron number, the less coarse the grit. So it's the opposite of like a stone, where the higher the grit, the less coarse. If that makes sense. But so I'm gonna do a few passes on the 6 micron, and then I like this 1/2 micron spray. I made it myself. I'll do a video on how to make it. It works a lot better than most of the compounds I found out there for sale. But same thing. Just going to drop out that little bit of burr that's left on there. Yeah, it's much better. So, let's see how we did. Oh yeah, see that? Big difference. Just from stropping. Getting the rest of that burr off there makes a huge difference, man. That's why it's so important to strop. Boom, easy peasy. So, finally, to wrap this all up, this knife, is wobbly. The blade's wobbly because it's, like I said, a cheap knife. I got a little toolkit here. This is a T8, surprisingly, for such a cheap knife. I figured it would have been a T6, but it's a T8. So, got a little T8 torque spit here. You can get these screwdriver kits on Amazon for, I don't know, $4 or $5. I'm just going to tighten that pivot just to take away any blade play that's in there. We'll do a video later on like a knife disassembly and cleaning, knife care, stuff like that. We'll do that in another video though. But we're all done. Got a nice edge on this thing. The burr's all gone. So yeah, hope you enjoyed.